Okay, you want me to tell you a story? I gotta be honest, I'm not good at it. My dad, boy, could he spin a yarn. He could suck you in right from the beginning, like any good storyteller. First thing though, you gotta tell me something. 'Cause for this story to make sense, for it to mean anything, you have to believe in something. Something very important. You have to believe people can change. This Christmas on the Comic Book Report, Batman Noel. Stick around and check it out. Merry Christmas from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and you're watching The Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. In light of the holiday, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Batman Noel. But before we do, here are some quick facts about today's collection. Batman Noel was written and penciled by Lee Bermejo. This comic was first published by DC Comics in 2011, and the volume I'll be reviewing today comes in at 112 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a brief spoiler warning. I will be flipping through today's collection in its entirety, as well as commenting on some plot points. You've been warned. Okay, and here's a look at today's collection, the Batman hardcover reprint that came out this year. Right away, we have some stunning work from Lee Bermejo across this whole dust jacket. Of course, an agonized-looking Batman in a cemetery definitely sets the mood. Some of you, like myself, might be concerned when you saw a page count a little over 100 pages, debating, is this really worth my money? And frankly, that's one of the reasons I'm making this video. I'm hoping to share a bit more about it, and then you can make that decision for yourself. From the jump, I'll say it's certainly a well-designed book for the price point. You can take a look here under the dust jacket. It's a green hardcover with a little bit of embedded art at the front, this being a little sad-looking Christmas tree, which is lifted straight from this collection itself. A very nice touch. Under the cover as well, you see those red pages, which is very festive. And it was really little touches like these that I can see DC put a little bit of time into constructing this collection, and I always appreciate that. As we start in on the collection proper, it opens up to some nice snowy looking pages. We see a title page followed by an introduction from Jim Lee, which was an excellent little piece, and then of course a dedication, respectfully, to Charles Dickens. Okay, for those going in with no real context to this volume in my hands, here are a couple things to know. Batman Noel tells a Christmas-themed Batman story, all with a framed narrative of a man telling his son a crudely paraphrased version of Charles Dickens's classic A Christmas Carol. Juxtaposed with that framing narration, we have an ongoing story of Batman trying to hunt down the Joker and some of his lackeys. Throughout the work, we have Lee Bermejo set up Batman as the Ebenezer Scrooge kind of figure who needs to have his heart softened. The quotation mark spirits that visit Batman, however, are familiar faces within the Dark Knight's universe. It's a pretty simple conceit, all things considered, and I think Bermejo does a pretty fair job of comparing Batman to Scrooge and letting the story play out in a way that's believable. Looking at the collection itself, if you haven't noticed already, the artwork is absolutely stunning. If you've never been a fan of Bermejo's work, or maybe haven't been exposed to it, this is a great sampling of just what this man can do. And for me, if I'm honest, the art is the main draw for this book, at least for me. And that's why it's lucky that DC decided to go ahead and make this an oversized hardcover collection with a glossy print paper. The paper is really nice stock, however it's a bit thinner than what you'd find in like their omnibus collections, but as I mentioned, it is still a gloss and it is an oversized, so you get to see this art really pop. It's such a joy to see Bermejo just set himself loose on Batman and the people in his world. There's some scenes in the Batcave as well that are just incredible, and it really underscores for me one of the main strengths of this book, which is how atmospheric it is. Bermejo's attention to detail, even in the littlest nuances or facets of this book, really go a long way. Down to building shapes and little details, the snow, the lighting of everything, the shading of everything. It makes the world feel very lived in and larger than life. And even with some of his hyper-realistic details, there's enough going on in the coloring and kind of the smoothness in which he does some of this that give it that still dreamlike, fairy tale, Christmassy storytelling kind of vibe. One thing I really just adore is when a comic book has the same penciler and writer. And sometimes, when this happens, it just really allows for a more cohesive brand of storytelling, where you know both the words and the art came from the same person. And you feel that a bit here. However, one thing I didn't overwhelmingly love about this collection, being such a huge fan of Charles Dickens's work, is I don't love the paraphrase storytelling. I get how it allows for more authenticity with the frame narrative as kind of a street level dude talking to his son about this story he kind of remembered his dad telling him. I think internally it really works, but for me it was a little alienating hearing this story retold in such a way. And while I'm sure that's not going to detract many readers, it did put me off a little bit. In some ways, I think I would have preferred more Dickens quotes throughout this book. Another thing to note, at least in my experience, while this is a shorter story, it didn't quite feel as short as it really was. You get a really great story, beginning, middle, and end, and the level of detail in Bermejo's work keeps you staring in awe of each page, letting you take the time to soak in all the rich details. And afterwards, we get some good bonus material. And that was the collection. And now, I think it's time to give Batman Noel a grade. For its near photorealistic art that excellently uses light and shadow, while paying a unique kind of homage to a holiday classic, The Comic Book Report has to give Batman Noel a B-. While the artwork is absolutely unparalleled, this Batman collection really feels more like a holiday classic rather than a Batman classic. Even though it had some rich character moments, it doesn't quite go toe-to-toe with some of the other Batman classic works that are already out there. And while it's hard to fault this edition being oversized hardcover with some nice glossy pages, and including a great foreword from Jim Lee, who's a personal favorite of mine, I wouldn't consider this a must-read for everyone. While it's definitely above average and great for someone who loves the holiday season and Batman, for me, the real draw is still the artwork from Lee Bermejo in the collection. And for that reason, perhaps more than others, I'm really happy to put this on my bookcase, to dust off and enjoy every time the Christmas season approaches. And that's going to do it for today, so from me to you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. Until next time, that's been the Comic Book Report. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing or checking out some of my other videos, and have a good one.